A gunman there shoots 5 people, killing 1 and critically injuring at least 3 others. Our ABC affiliate in Seattle reports a gunman shot at least 5 people in the cafeteria. 1 of them died. 4 students suffered gunshot wounds, all to their heads. Police say the gunman, who is a student, fired several shots in the school cafeteria and then killed himself.
October 24th, 2014 began like any other day in Marysville, Washington. Students at Marysville Pilchuck High School anticipated the weekend, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. To understand what happened on that October morning, we must look at the boy who pulled the trigger. His name was Jaylen Fryberg, 15 years old, a freshman at Marysville Pilchuck High School. By all appearances, Jaylen was thriving, popular, athletic, smart, and well-liked. But behind the smiles and trophies, something was unraveling. Jaylen was a member of the Tulalip tribes, deeply connected to his cultural roots. He was raised in a close-knit indigenous community just outside Marysville. He grew up surrounded by tradition, hunting trips, and large family gatherings, an upbringing centered on honor, heritage, and unity. But within the modern world of high school and social media, Jaylen straddled 2 realities. Jaylen was a standout athlete, a starting linebacker on the junior varsity football team. His peers voted him homecoming prince just a week before the shooting. He had charisma. He was confident. Teachers described him as bright, engaging, and eager to participate in class discussions. He wasn't a loner. He wasn't bullied. But beneath the confident exterior, Jaylen was dealing with emotional pain. Days before the shooting, he had broken up with his girlfriend, a breakup that deeply affected him. He reportedly got into a fight at school over racial slurs aimed at his heritage, leading to a suspension. His social media pages became a canvas for sadness, anger, and cryptic warnings. To some, they were just teen angst. But looking back, they were signs, cries for help that no one fully heard. Jaylen came from a family of hunters and gun owners. His father, Jaylen Fryberg, had a history with law enforcement, including a permanent protection order filed against him for domestic violence. Yet firearms remained in the household, accessible. Jaylen used a .40 caliber Beretta PX-4 Storm, a semi-automatic handgun registered to his father. Authorities later discovered it had been improperly stored in a car. After the shooting, Jaylen Fryberg was charged and convicted of illegally owning firearms, some of which he obtained while under a court-ordered ban. Jaylen lived between 2 worlds, traditional values of the Tulalip people and the fast-paced, high-pressure landscape of American teenage life. It's possible that this identity conflict intensified his feelings of isolation and failure after his breakup and suspension. His actions would tear his community apart, but it's important to understand, he didn't target strangers. He didn't lash out at the school system or authority figures. He called his friends, he sat at their table, and then he pulled the trigger. Each of the people he shot had once shared laughter with him. Some were cousins. Some had gone camping with him. These weren't distant classmates. They were his inner circle. And this made the tragedy feel not just brutal, but deeply personal. Jaylen Fryberg's story is one of contradictions. A boy admired by many, tormented by heartbreak, consumed by silence. Whatever led him to that cafeteria table on October 24th, whether it was rage, depression, confusion, or desperation, will never fully be known. But his choices shattered lives, including his own.
Begin with breaking news. A shooting at a high school in Washington State. A gunman there shoots 5 people, killing 1 and critically injuring at least 3 others. Our ABC affiliate in Seattle reports a gunman shot at least 5 people in the cafeteria. 1 of them died. 4 students suffered gunshot wounds, all to their heads. Police say the gunman, who is a student, fired several shots in the school cafeteria and then killed himself. Just looking at social media here, it looks as though some students are now identifying that shooter to CNN as a freshman there at the high school. It's unknown if the person who died was a student or a staff member. We're still waiting on confirmation on that. Police put the school on lockdown and swarmed the campus. Witnesses here described the horrifying moments today.
Like a big loud pop until I heard 4 more after that. And I saw 3 kids just fall from the table.
Police believe there was just one gunman. We're continuing to monitor this story, so you can stay with ABC Action News for the latest developments.
It was a chilly Friday morning in Marysville. Just another school day at Pilchuck High. The cafeteria buzzed with chatter. Midterms loomed. Halloween was a week away. But for Jaylen Fryberg, this morning marked something else. Something final. At around 10:30 a.m., Jaylen pulled out his phone. He began texting close friends, people he trusted, grew up with. He invited them to meet him for lunch. There was no anger in his messages, no threats, just a friendly invitation, a trap dressed in familiarity. At precisely 10:39 a.m., Jaylen entered the cafeteria. In one hand, a lunch bag. In the other, a .40 caliber Beretta PX-4 Storm taken from his father's vehicle. He walked to a table where 5 of his closest friends sat. He didn't say a word. He raised the gun and opened fire. Zoe Galasso was killed instantly. Gia Soriano, Shaylee Chuckle-Naskit, and Andrew Fryberg collapsed, fatally wounded. Nate Hatch, Jaylen's own cousin, was shot in the jaw but survived. Within moments, it was over. After firing multiple shots, Jaylen turned the gun on himself. He died at the scene. The silence that followed was haunting. Chairs lay overturned, lunch trays scattered, blood on the linoleum floor. Students screamed, some ran, others froze in disbelief. A code red was announced. Classrooms were locked down. Students barricaded doors, texted their parents, unsure if the danger had passed. First responders began evacuating students. Medics rushed the wounded to Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett. Helicopters circled overhead. A triage center was set up. The entire state of Washington stood still. By noon, national media had descended. Parents waited in tears. Some were reunited with their children. Others were asked to wait in separate rooms where the worst news would come. Marysville was thrust into the national spotlight, not for its achievements, but for its heartbreak. What was supposed to be a regular Friday turned into one of the darkest days in Washington state's history. The shooting at Marysville Pilchuck lasted less than a minute, but in those 60 seconds, 5 young lives were ended or forever altered. A community was wounded, and the questions began: why? How? And could it have been stopped?
Jaylen Fryberg was not the kid anyone thought would snap. He was popular, and on the surface, the problems in his life were not the sort we've come to associate with mass school shootings. Still, the social media trail he leaves behind paints a teenager who may have been frustrated with some of those close to him. But even that may not fully explain why he apparently opened fire on his classmates in a Marysville, Washington school cafeteria yesterday, killing 1 and sending 4 others to hospitals with severe wounds before taking his own life. Today, authorities and eyewitnesses offered new details about the shooting at Marysville Pilchuck High School and what may have led to it. As we also learn more about the young victims, some of whom are fighting for their lives tonight. NBC's Joe Fryer is in Marysville, Washington for us with more now.
Good evening, Lester. Many students returned to school today, retrieving items left behind when they fled. Tonight, the motive behind this shooting remains a mystery, but family members confirm 2 of the victims were related to the gunman. Witnesses say Jaylen Fryberg, the teenager who apparently opened fire inside the cafeteria at Marysville Pilchuck High School, shot friends and relatives who were close to him. Alex Hatch, a distant cousin and friend of the gunman, was sitting the next table over.
I looked up and Jaylen, he was looking at us. He didn't look like him. He looked like a different person. He had a look on his face like he was just realizing what he did. And I think he kind of had to change of heart. And if he wanted to, he could have gone on.
Police say at 10:39 Friday morning, they received the first 911 call. At 10:41, a school resource officer arrived in the cafeteria. By 10:43, it was confirmed Fryberg was down after taking his own life. 1 victim, a female student, was killed. 4 more were injured, including 2 of the suspect's distant cousins, 14-year-old Nate Hatch, who's in serious condition, and 15-year-old Andrew Fryberg in critical condition.
They're just good buds. They live next door to each other. They're, as well as a shooter, they're just 3 complete buddies, and they couldn't be closer than 3 brothers.
The 2 other victims are Gia Soriano and Shaylee Chuckle-Naskit.
She's just a good girl, full of life. Always had a smile. Always said she loved you.
Both girls are in critical condition after they were shot in the head.
The next 3 days are going to be crucial. These young people are being monitored moment by moment.
Students say Fryberg was a positive, popular freshman, recently named homecoming royalty.
This is the exact opposite of somebody we would expect to commit a terrible act like this.
Friends say a few days before the shooting, Fryberg was more negative than usual. They say he recently got in a fight with another student, and law enforcement sources tell NBC News he may have been upset about a romantic relationship. Earlier this week on Twitter, Fryberg wrote, "It breaks me. It actually does. I know it seems like I'm sweating it off, but I'm not, and I never will be able to." But no one expected something like this to happen.
I would have never known he was ever going to do this. If somebody would have told me, I would have said, "You're crazy."
Authorities have not yet released the name of the girl who died. As part of the investigation, more than 100 student witnesses have been interviewed. Detectives did find a .40 caliber handgun at the scene, which they believe was used in the shooting.
They weren't just names in a news report. They were children, friends, sons, daughters. They had dreams, favorite songs, crushes, favorite foods. But on October 24th, 2014, their lives were forever altered or taken. Zoe Galassa was just 14. Known for her bright energy and love of fashion, Zoe had dreams of becoming an interior designer. Friends described her as kind, stylish, and always smiling. She died instantly in the cafeteria. Zoe was Jaylen's close friend, and her death left a wound in the entire school.
I saw 3 kids just fall from the table.
Long after the shock,
I was really scared.
And the tears.
I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Long after, thoughts and prayers leave town.
Year 2 is actually worse than year 1.
The pain for someone who's lost a child remains.
Year 1 is just shock and devastation. And then year 2, it's like, it hits. And then everyone's gone. And then you're alone.
Michelle Jeffries lost her daughter Zoe to the mass shooting at Marysville Pilchuck High School 6 years ago. The pain is still so raw.
I honestly did not think I was going to survive this. Gosh, I just really wanted to die. I did. And I don't think I realized how much I did.
There's no playbook when you feel that broken. But after a few years, Michelle needed something. Friends kept her going, but only parents who've lost a child truly know those feelings.
I just wanted life to move forward, but I didn't want to do the work.
Her outlet became an online journal.
It was freedom. It really was. It was a lot of freedom.
So she continued, searching for more. What about a book?
One day I was having coffee with my neighbor, and she's written a ton of books, and she said, "Your blogs are your book." And I said, "Okay."
Before she knew it, it happened. My Rainbow to Keep, a mother's journey through the unimaginable.
Now I feel like I've written them kind of a survival guide. Everything that was going on in my head just dumped. It's like, okay, you've been there. We can do this. We can do this together. I want to be a part of that group that we help each other.
Since that day, Michelle has moved out of state with a new husband in the Navy. And she has another daughter, a 3-year-old, who never got to meet her sister.
We have a memorial in our home set up for her, pictures, of course. We start our day and end our day with Zoe. So it's good morning, sister. Good night, sister. Love you, sister.
The journey to today helps Michelle Jeffries find herself again. But really, it's about finding someone else.
I wrote this book for her. I actually think she'd be so proud of me right now.
Gia Soriano, also 14, was taken to the hospital in critical condition. She fought for her life for 2 days, but on October 26th, her parents made the impossible decision to take her off life support. Gia was smart and funny. She loved science, especially space. Her organs were donated, giving life to others, even in her death. Shaylee Chuckle-Naskiet was also critically injured. She passed away on October 31st, Halloween. Her family was part of the Tulalip tribes. Shaylee was proud of her heritage. She loved sports, hanging out with her friends, and had dreams of going to college. Her loss deeply affected the Native American community of Marysville.
A 14-year-old girl who was critically hurt after last week's shooting at Marysville Pilchuck High School has died, and that raises the death toll in that shooting now to 4. Shaylee Chuckle-Naskiet died yesterday. Shaylee's family released a statement saying she was a loving daughter, a caring sister, a devoted friend who brought them incredible joy and happiness during her short life. Shaylee's uncle and several cousins stopped by a school memorial last night. They didn't want to speak on camera. They say the family is hurting, but they are at peace.
Andrew Fryberg, a cousin of Jaylen's, was shot and clung to life for nearly 2 weeks. He died on November 7th. Andrew was passionate about football and was known for his humor and warmth. His family, already grieving Jaylen's death, now faced the unbearable pain of losing another son. Nate Hatch, Jaylen's cousin and close friend, was shot in the jaw. Miraculously, he survived. The emotional scars, however, run deeper than the physical. He was the only one at that table to live. The guilt, grief, and confusion would haunt him for years. Nate later became an advocate for forgiveness and healing, even amid his own trauma. These weren't just individual tragedies. Each loss shattered a family. Parents who had to bury their children, siblings who lost their best friends, friends left behind in shock. The Marysville community united in grief, holding vigils, hanging ribbons, and writing letters to honor the victims. In the days after the shooting, students returned to campus. But nothing felt normal. The cafeteria table where it happened was removed. Memorials replaced decorations. Yearbooks were filled with in memoriam pages. Those empty chairs said more than words ever could. But in their grief, the students and families found strength. They held healing circles, painted murals, wrote poems. Their resilience became the light in an otherwise dark story. The victims of the Marysville Pilchuck shooting were more than the headlines that followed their names. They were lives full of promise, and though they are gone, their stories continue to echo, reminding us of what was lost and what must never happen again.